Giants 20, Commanders 20, Commanders 20, Giants 20. Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we always talk about brand firsts for the podcast, and this is the first tie.
Yeah.
And, you know, people say, I don't know how to feel, and I think that's like a little, but it's kind of true. Like when you say, I don't know how to feel, because there is – It's definitely a negative emotion, but when then you take the negative emotion out of it, it's like, well, this is good because of this. Like it's like when people like you can't say it's worse than a loss because it's really not worse than a loss.
It's like I would rather lose, but I'm saying that selfishly just because like every game that I have experienced in my life has been a win or a loss. Like I've never, whether it's playing in a game.
We've all been trashing the World Cup. Like,
exactly.
They do this tie, and then it's like it happens to us.
Ties should not happen in the NFL.
No, the scoring it's not, again, like I somewhat understand it in soccer because scoring is so, like, scarce. But, like, that's, like, if this game lasts 2 minutes longer, the Giants end up winning this game.
Yeah, because I think all of us kind of feel, like, shitty. Like, it almost feels like we lost the game. But I think the question is, like, how should we, like, what should we be feeling? Like, should it be, like, we're still, like, in the playoffs, or what do we, what do we feel is bad?
I think emotionally you just treat it as a loss, analyze it as a loss.
The players are,
but
for sure.
When you look at it, it's like, well, this is a much better situation than a loss, because if this was a loss, you are now out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like you're out of the playoffs now.
Yeah,
you are the team out on the outside looking in, and the next Washington game, it's like you got to steal one versus the Eagles. So,
but I mean, there's just a laundry list of reasons why this does feel like a loss, though, because the Giants should have won this game. We're going to talk about all of it. I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice whole round number. I have like 10 bullet points on if any of those things maybe don't happen, the Giants could win the game. Like 10 points and 10 moments, which is crazy.
And this was the first game where there's times where we're critical of coaching and you know, like, I'd like this and this. This was the first game where I was just flat out mad at coaching and the offensive coaching and specifically.
Yeah.
They totally, like, it was the first time where it's like, you guys are predictable. It was like, one, they're running the ball on first down a lot. I get it. I somewhat understand it. That's how you've won. But guess what? It's not effective anymore. Okay? And first down runs in this game, 16 carries for 58 yards, 3.5 yards per play, which isn't all that bad, but there was 4 negative runs in there too that put them behind the sticks. Then on first down passes, which were mostly late in the game, 11 for 12, 143 yards. The one incompletion was the Slayton drop at the end of the game, 12 yards a play. And it's not even just the first down. What frustrated me so much is we were getting these second and longs after they had the 4 negative plays, and we go play action. We were running play action on 3rd and 5. You know, like there was just like
teams ain't falling for play action on 3rd down.
And on top of that, they're not falling for play action, 1, and 2, we've put enough on film to where we know what you like to get into out of play action. You know, It's not just play action that's brought, like, we know the plays that you like to get into.
Not new.
We know when this guy motions across, you need to cover this, you need to get to that spot. Yep. You know, so the argument, like, well, they're doing some of the same things they did earlier in the season. Yeah, but now you're doing it in very predictable ways. And it was like laughable. I started tweeting about it at the end of the game. I was like, I guarantee this is going to be a play action. I guarantee you this second and long is going to be a play action. It would happen.
Yeah, man. I'm just at this point with this Giants offense where it's like not sure what there is to say at this point. What we haven't already said, and really what I haven't said, especially these last few weeks where I've come to the realization this offense just does not trust Daniel Jones to make plays, and or they don't trust their offensive line to hold up, and or they don't trust their wide receivers to get open and make plays. I mean, those are the 3 things that this offense, you know, that they don't have going for them at this point. And it's any of the combination of the 3, whatever one you want to choose. I personally think it could be all 3, and it's week 13. It's not going to change this year. I've dealt with that. I've swallowed it. It's a painful pill to swallow, especially when you went from the summer where we have Brian Daboll and the staff is emphasizing aggression and it's okay.
Yeah, where did all that go?
It's okay to make mistakes, and now we've seen more 2020 and 2021 stat lines where Jones has an average depth of target of 6 yards, 6 yards, a completion rate of like 80%, and a whopping 200 yards on 30 attempts.
And here's the thing is whenever they drop back pass, it worked for the most part, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's a much better, like conceptually, it's miles ahead of what they had did the past couple of years under Judge and Garrett. Like, so it's, and I'm not even like being like they need to move on from Kafka. Like this was the first game where I was pissed off. Like I do think, I hate to say it, but once I think they get the guy they want, they will open things up. But here's the frustrating part about that is they may not want DJ as their quarterback, but he is your quarterback this year. Okay?
Yeah.
And the way this offense is going to succeed for the rest of the season is not going to be the way it succeeded in the start of the season. Okay? It's going to be by letting him throw and stop living in fear of big, bad, scary interceptions. Okay? The guy's thrown 4 in 11 games.
Yeah. It's the frustrating thing is that Dable was saying over the summer that, like, you don't want your quarterback throwing interceptions, obviously. That's not a spot that you want to be in. But Brian Dable was sitting there over the summer saying if we're pushing the envelope and we're trying to produce explosive plays and we're producing them at a consistent rate, I'm okay with throwing those interceptions. And Bobby, that same argument that you just said about Daniel Jones of, if this Giants team is going to try and find any sort of success, especially towards the second half of the year, that they have to trust Daniel Jones because they just have no other choice. You can say the same thing about Darius Slayton. Now, Darius Slayton had a huge drop in this game, and he cannot drop that ball if he does want to be dependent on. But that drop is so huge and so important. It's because every time the ball goes in the air for longer than 20 yards, you almost feel like the Giants have to convert it because you don't know when the next 20-plus air yard throw is going to come. Because it's like, if this falls incomplete, it's like, well, there goes our last opportunity for a big play, especially when Saquon Barkley is not being effective.
Seriously, like that every time that, like you said, the ball goes 20-plus air yards and it's incomplete, and it's like,
it is
damn.
Ultra hold your breath.
It's like, oh, well, I guess we're not having a big play for another, half. And it's one thing with, like trusting, like, but like, well, they want to trust the run game. Well, guess what? Trusting Saquon's not working right now.
No, it's not.
And it's a combination of a few things. Like the offensive line has not been good. But like the last 5 games, he's averaging 3.3 yards per carry, and I feel like that makes it look a little more prettier than it really is because the majority of those yards came against the Texans when he got the ball 35 times. Like that is not helping them. Again, they're just putting them in second and longs. Teams are not biting on the play action, and the times where, like, when they are keying in on Saquon, like the first downs, I did it with DJ. Like DJ was 11.9 yards per play on first down. The only incompletion was that, and it's not about. And we talk about explosive plays. It's not all about explosive plays. But guess what? A freaking check down on 1st and 10 is a very successful play. Okay, on 3rd and 5, when you throw a check down, or when the only thing's open is short, and you got to sit there and hang in the pocket, and nothing gets open. Well, then, like, you don't have any outlets. Like, allow DJ just. Again, this is not about airing the ball out and being, the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills. All it's doing is just stop putting yourself off schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what running in those, and it's the play actions off of it on 2nd and longs and 3rd downs they're just flat out not working, And then situationally, there was some stuff that was pissing me off conservative-wise. Like, the end of the half, 3rd and 1 at the 11 with 19 seconds left and no timeouts, and you run the ball. Well, they don't trust the Daniel Jones, the guy who's done 4 interceptions in 11 games, and a very clear do not throw an interception moment. Like, what's the – and, again, if you're just going to kick the field goal, why not just run a quick conversion route to Slayton where it's like fade, fade or skinny post fade, and if it's not there, DJ, just throw it out the back of the end zone.
It's
like
just
if Mark Lewinsky whiffs on a block, throw out the back of the end zone.
It's just so weird.
You don't have to risk a sack. You don't have to risk an interception on that.
Kafka and Dable the places in which they come from, they deserve the benefit of the doubt. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I still think they're good coaches.
I think they're very good coaches. It really is just a matter of, like, we are in week 13, and we're just at a point, man, where it's clear that they don't trust the O-line, they don't trust the receivers, or they don't trust their quarterback, or all three, combination of the one, or the two, or the three. That's just where we're at, and it's not to just repeat the same point over and over again. Clearly they trust Saquon Barkley, or at least just running the ball is an easy thing to, I guess, just stay on schedule. Running the ball is an easy thing where you don't make mistakes like interception, sacks. You don't lose 5 yards, 6 yards consistently, when you run the ball, for negative plays like you do if you drop back the pass. So I don't know, man. But I want to touch on Saquon. He just isn't an advantage right now. I mean, he flat out just isn't. I think he ran better at certain points today, but something that's been apparent for the last 2 years, and this is even during the first stretch of this season. He was being efficient. The blocking was better. He did look explosive, yes, but he just can't break tackles. Saquon Barkley cannot break tackles. Do you remember that play against Detroit from, I think, 2019, where he gets like a check down? And that clip of, people share it all the time. People still share.
Stiff arm to the ground,
stiff
spins
arm,
out of one.
Spins, runs somebody over. Those were 3 guys in one play. Just can't break tackles anymore. And, so here's the, broken tackles per attempts by year. Saquon Barkley in 2018 broke a tackle every 8.7 attempts. 13.6 in 2019. Shoots all the way up to 40.5 in 2021. You think this year would be a little bit better since 2021 was a bad year? 32 a broken tackle every 32 attempts this year. He has a total of 7 broken tackles this year, according to Pro Football Reference. So, I mean, we're talking about Saquon Barkley not being explosive. We're talking about Saquon Barkley, maybe suffering some sort of injury. I mean, if there's one thing that you can do as a running back that can separate yourself, and it can separate from offensive line production, it could separate itself from scheme, it's that when you have an opportunity in the open field, you can break a tackle, or if you're in a pile, you can drive your legs, get yards after contact. And Saquon Barkley just is not doing that, especially towards like the second half, the latter part of this year right now. He's not an advantage, just flat out.
Yeah, and he's just, honestly, it's the last 5 games of the season, he's just been a high volume back. That's it, and if he get averaging 3.335 yards per carry. And again, there's a lot of stuff on the offensive line, but that's in the beginning of the season running through dudes, so maybe it's a combination of injury, but that's always when you've seen the worst of Saquon.
Yeah. His yards after contact, I just checked his Pro Football Reference page. His yards after contact, I remember looking at this earlier in the year saying, wow, the 2018-2019 Saquon Barkley is back in regards to his yards after contact, where he's able to get hit, he's able to turn his legs, he's able to get the tough yards. We talked all about that. I mean, he was getting the tough yards this year when he didn't consistently do that in 2018-2019. And there was a point this year where we were talking about this is the best version of Saquon Barkley we have ever seen. Now his yards after contact on the season is down to 2 yards. 2 yards after contact per attempt, where in 2018-2019 it was almost a whole yard greater at 2.8. So clearly something's off, man. We saw Evan Neal come back. We saw Daniel Bellinger come back, and the running game, at least with Saquon Barkley back there, was pretty solid with Daniel Jones. But at least with Saquon Barkley back there, just still not where we need to be.
Let's talk about DJ in this game. 25 of 31, 200 yards, 12 carries for 71 yards, and those yards came on scrambles. I thought, again, when I was watching with the offense, I was like, okay, he's doing what's there in the progressions. Completing the big play to Darius Slayton, and again, what was the completion percentage? Over 80%.
It was 80%. His CPOE, but I like mentioning, I'm getting really nerdy for the people that don't like me talking about stats all the time. I'm sorry. But Daniel Jones' CPOE, completion percentage over expected, which is basically measuring accuracy, it was plus 14, which is really crazy good.
Yeah, I think the coaching staff let down just the offense as a whole, but obviously then that's going to affect the quarterback the most. And I thought he was making the most out of what he could with the offense today. Yep. And that includes even on second and third down, his yards per play, when you include sacks, was less than 3. But a lot, like I said, it was play action, and then it's the boot, and it's everything's covered up. They know that play action is coming. And then the big plays of the game were it'd be second and long, they would run these play actions, and the only times they were successful was DJ scrambling.
Right.
And he had over 70 rushing yards, and this was not just the cat had some read options.
Yeah. Which I don't want to
broke free. He was he make guys miss in the pocket and made plays with his feet. So I thought he was overcoming the scheme and the times where he did play well. Do you have the big drop to Darius Slayton at the end of the game, which the TV angle's not great of it, so I don't know if Slayton
got 2 hands on it.
Well, so here's the thing. I wanted to see, could Slayton have ran through it more and made it look like a cleaner catch? But then when you look at it anyways, it's like he got a clean 2 hands on that.
He got 2 hands on it.
You could say, like the versus the Cowboys, the Saquon 4th and 1. People are like, well, he got hands on. I'm like, sorry, that's way more on Daniel Jones than Saquon Barkley. I like Saquon. This was one of those like, hey, yeah, it may have not been the perfect pass, but guess what? It was 50 yards downfield, and it got in both his hands. You got to make that freaking
Darius Slayton is also a wide receiver, which those guys are expected to catch football.
This doesn't like sour me on Darius Slayton for the season. Like he had 6 catches for 90 yards, but that's a play that Darius Slayton has to catch.
You got to have it, especially when you got a guy like me sitting here saying, hey, Darius Slayton is wide receiver 1 for this season. You kind of have to embrace Darius Slayton as wide receiver 1 for this season, and an opportunity where that's one of 10. It's basically one of 10 moments where I have. If that happens, then the Giants win the game. So here you want to go through some other ones? I have
just
like 9
Darius Slayton is having the best season of his career because he's playing in this scheme, and
he hasn't been dropping the ball, and he hasn't been given like a shit ton of opportunities either. Like he's made the most of his opportunities. It just sucks that in one of the biggest games of the year, he got to catch the ball.
Yeah.
Got to catch the ball, man. I wish there was more analysis to that, but you got to catch the ball.
No, and that changes the game right there.
Yeah.
That was another first down passing play. It was weird. It's weird how teams aren't keyed on what you can do on first down. When you drop back, you can either check it down for 9 yards,
the 55-yard,
or you can bomb it to Darius Slayton a couple of times.
The 55-yard completion was on a 1st and 10 as well.
Yeah.
At that point, the Giants had 1 passing yard in the game, and then the 55-yard play to Slayton.
Yeah, I think. Anyways,
do you want to go through some of the other moments that I have kind of written down as the game could be drastically different if any of these things don't happen?
Let's go through the offensive ones, and then we'll kick off the defensive segment with those.
Okay, so I have the John Feliciano taunting penalty. That was a 1st and 10 pass play that Darius Slayton had a first down. You're talking about they're on the other side of the 50-yard line. I think the game was 20-13 at that point. The game was 20-13 for how long?
They took the 20-13 lead with 11.5 minutes left in the third quarter.
So from that point to basically almost the end of the game, it was 20-13, and you almost feel like if the Giants score a touchdown and they make it 27-13, the game is done.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So
like we were, even a field goal would have ended the game multiple times.
Yeah, it's 2 scores.
Where do you? So I watched a little bit of the replay. It does look like he's kind of flexing at Slayton. You got to be smarter than that. But I'm also like, as much as I don't want Feliciano playing anymore, I also am like the guy's just kind of hyping us up, and the taunting penalty kind of sucks. Like, why would Feliciano randomly just like run over to a cornerback and flex on him on a 15-yard curl route?
Yeah. It just leaves a sour taste in my mouth because I didn't like him heading into the season because he talked a big game, and then he said after in a way, this is all semantics. I don't
like Feliciano either. But
I would rather him just take accountability, be like, yeah, I can't do that. But instead, after the game, he's like, no, I this is what I did, blah blah blah. The NFL, the comment of, I felt like we were playing 2 teams out there.
Yeah, I don't like that. Him explaining, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't like him being like blaming it like we're playing 2 teams on the refs.
All right, so that's one.
But the refs gave the Giants some favorable calls in this game too.
We talked about the Slayton drop. Richie James and Saquon Barkley running into each other on the 3rd down.
I don't know who to put that. I guess that blame goes on Daniel Jones, or what?
Yeah,
I don't.
He took
I don't
accountability for it.
But so that's the hard thing is Daniel Jones will take accountability for everything.
Yeah.
But that's just so freaking frustrating. And here, so we can talk about going in that, dude. The ball's a steal. Go for it on 2 versus the Titans.
Dude, I have the quote.
It is 3rd and 3 at the Washington 45 with less than 2 minutes left, and you punt in overtime. You punt. Sorry, I don't agree with that.
I'm gonna read the quote.
That was I think I booed twice in the game, and that was one of the boos I had.
Yeah, back to the 4th and 3. You made that statement in the first game when you went for 2. You were aggressive. Why not today? Well, I think it's later in the season.
Yeah, it's like you feel the stress more of the game.
But why?
Playing for a tie. He was literally playing for a tie. It was very clear. I'd rather tie than lose. I'm afraid to lose.
Dude, that's such a shame, man, because, he not only talked about it over the summer about being aggressive, we're going to be aggressive here, we're going to be aggressive here. That's literally what he said all spring, all summer. That's what we heard, and we get excited about it, and we believed him because that's where he comes from. And this is not to say that Brian Dable is now this super ultra conservative head coach.
This game sucked coaching wise offensively.
I just think he has a team that he doesn't trust, which I think is bullshit because you play to win the game, and literally the Giants just didn't lose this game; they literally tied.
Yeah.
They played to literally not win the game. It sucks because we started out the year by having this ultra super aggressive move. I would think in the first week, wouldn't you be more aggressive now when it means more? The playoffs are on the line. I would be more aggressive now compared to the first week of the season and have to deal with the scrutiny that comes from maybe losing that way in week one.
Nah, week one you're just
fuck it week one.
I think there's just so much more stress with what's going on with this team right now compared to week one.
Divisional opponent. You're home.
Don't get me wrong. I think they should have went for it there.
Yeah, 3 yards too. I mean, we even talked about it with the decision. You were going back and forth on the decision to go for it on 4th down against Dallas last week, and I think that was a 4th and 2, 4th and 1.
4th and 1.
So again, that's 36 inches. This is 36 times 3. Not a lot of inches to go. You got to trust your offense to. In that kind of spot by midfield, you got to trust them to get it and go down and win the game for you. So that sucks. So we already talked about the lack of aggression on offense. Daniel Jones's first quarter fumble. Jonathan Allen forced it.
I didn't get to see it either, by the way. It takes like over 30 minutes to get in the MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, I'm
getting into the I hate MetLife Stadium with you because it's like no other stadium. You get out very quickly. But getting in, it takes forever to get into that stadium. Like I thought, I was like, all right, I'm leaving 30 minutes.
It's mainly
early.
the escalators. It's the escalators that will do it.
No, it's the crowd at the front getting through the security.
Yeah. Also, people have the tickets on their LTE, and you cannot get service. It's impossible. You have to add it to your Apple Wallet. So yeah, Jones's first quarter fumble, Jonathan Allen just forced it. Can't have it. Like what's the analysis there?
3 points on the board for them.
Timeout mismanagement is one of the points that I have. What do you think about that?
I'm trying to think. Were you thinking first half or second half?
I originally
first half. I thought when they were doing that 2-minute drive, they just kept on. So I'm not going to play the results. I hated the way they played that 2-minute drive at the end of the first half because they just kept running the ball and they just happened to run it successfully compared to. Like, most of Saquon Barkley's rushing yards came from that 2-minute drive. Like, look. Like, seriously, look. And on that drive, 9 yards, 4 – no, that's DJ. 6 yards, that's 15, 20 – another 5 yards, 20, 21 yards, 41, -4, 37. So 37 out of how many yards did Saquon
I think he had,
have
63.
Yeah. So
37 of 63 came on that drive.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty crazy.
Where they're not, so and again, but they just kept on handing whatever. Maybe I should. I should play the results, but
that was the best 2-minute series of events that they had all year, and I'm a fan of if there's a favorable run front and if teams are solely playing the pass, which I don't know why. Like if you're Washington there, why are you expecting the Giants to throw the ball? They literally haven't thrown the ball on a consistent basis on a 2-minute drill once this year. They haven't done it once. So I don't know why they're kind of playing the pass and they're being so passive in the run. If it works, it works. But Brian Dable, just for having how many coaches that he has in the booth and how many quality control coaches there are, what is the reasoning and what are the numbers? What is the explanation for why he holds timeouts so long in 2-minute situations? He'll have 3 timeouts left. He doesn't start calling any of them until 30 seconds left.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
That was a preseason thing, too. I said something in the preseason about that, and everybody's like, oh, Justin, blah, 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 just a preseason. Da, da, da. This has been an issue. It's been a constant theme all season long. And when you're winning, you don't say anything about it, but when you're tying or losing, that's when you say something about it.
Yeah. Anything else offensively you had on there?
Nope. We talked about running on early downs, play action when it doesn't make sense, and not going for it on 4th down in overtime. So we talked about everything offensively. I think that was 7 points. 7 of the 10 points that I had about how this game could be drastically different.
Why don't you read that, and then we will talk about the defense.
Well, then we'll talk about the defense. This episode is brought to you by Ridge Wallet. I love my Ridge Wallet because it holds up to 12 cards, plus it's got room for cash. I recently just went on a trip to Alabama. I like carrying a little bit of cash with me. I don't want to, drive up these credit cards, especially when it's closer to the holidays. So I got room for my credit cards, but I also got room for my cash and everything I need thanks to my Ridge Wallet. Plus, it's small, fits comfortably in my pocket when I'm traveling on my planes and everything like that. They got over 30 colors and styles, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. And guess what? They have over 50,000 5-star reviews. And the durable material means each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. The Rich team is so confident that you'll like it, they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund. If you don't love it, I want you to get the best offer with ridge.com/JohnBoy. And right now you could save up to 40% through December 22nd. That's ridge.com/JohnBoy to save up to 40%. Thank you to Ridge Wallet. You'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. Somebody in the chat, Glock Roach, asked about a timeout in overtime, so I don't want to miss that.
Well, we were talking about this before we hopped on. It originally looked like when Washington had the ball very late in overtime with about a minute and a half left. This is when Taylor Heineke fumbles the ball out of bounds. It originally looked like the clock stopped and then the clock started going. And I'm like, well, why is the clock running when Taylor Heineke literally ran out of bounds and also fumbled? He fumbled the ball out of bounds. Why is
Brian Robinson,
excuse me. Why is that a running clock situation? Like, do I not know the rules of the NFL? Why is because there was a running clock. And that's why Dable called the timeout after that. It was a third, so that was a second down. Brian Robinson runs out of bounds. It's a third down.
Because if they wanted the fumble to stop, like if you were wanting to stop, if the Commanders wanted to stop the clock, you can't just throw the ball out of bounds.
That's frustrating. So it originally looked like the clock was running, and then Dable calls a timeout when there's 10 seconds left on the play clock, which I'm like, why is he calling a timeout with 10 seconds left? Because that wouldn't make sense. Why not just have the Commanders run a play? But then you told me that they added more time on.
At least that's because I remember yelling, like, why aren't you calling a timeout? And then I remember the referee put on 1:25 on the clock, and it was at like 1:05. So they added time.
I was wondering about the play clock, though, because that where there was 10 seconds left until Washington had to snap the ball. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, but I think he may have tried to call a timeout before. I don't know, but all I know is they added 20 seconds to the game clock, so something happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, Dable said at the end of the game that they were projecting that they would get the ball back with 30 seconds left, and I think they did. So they just needed a few more plays.
Yeah, they did everything they could with the time there. Defensively, was interesting. They actually played out of a decent amount of two high coverages in this game, which
especially
Giants,
towards the second half,
which Wink Martindale just doesn't do very often. They allowed 20 points in 70 minutes of play. Like, I'm not too mad at the defense, especially with some of the personnel they had out. Darnay was out, so they had to put Zion Gilbert in the slot.
These wide receivers for Washington.
It's a good receiving core.
Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, who everybody loved this year in the draft, and Terry McLaurin's a top 10 receiver in the league.
Yeah, McLaurin is very good. He's since he came into the league, he's still. I mean, we know we're Giants fans. We know how good. People say Terry McLaurin's underrated. As Giants fans, you know that you know how good he is. He put up 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. The frustrating part is that the 2 touchdowns were both missed tackles.
Yep.
Like Fabian Moreau on Terry McLaurin, and then Zion Gilbert missed a tackle on Jahan Dotson, and then Nick McLeod whiffed off of that.
And you could say they maybe would have scored anyway, but the Giants have had a pretty good red zone defense this year, where if they make those tackles, maybe Washington stalls on another 3 plays, and they're forced to kick a field goal. So, yeah, that's frustrating.
They allowed they scored 10 points on their first 2 drives, and then 9 out of the next 11 drives were stops.
They ran a shit ton of plays, too.
Yeah, and so, again, Wink was surprisingly kind of invited them to run without some of these too high looks.
Yeah.
And they did fairly good. But in the passing game, you were talking about it on the way over to the office. You're like, one of the main things sucks about us not winning is like this pass rush was fun in this game, and it absolutely was.
There's two major things that I think we're talking about if we win this game. Number one, I think we're saying how, like, this is, I don't want to call it maybe a Wink Martindale masterclass, but this was a very well called game by Wink Martindale, especially, again, when you think of how talented those wide receivers are, and then think of Zion Gilbert, Fabian Moreau, and
Nick McLeod,
who was, post 53-man cut down day acquisition. So I
literally none of these guys were on the active roster on 53-man cut down.
Yeah,
Zion Gilbert's a UDFA who was cut to the practice squad. Fabian Moreau was a claim. Nick McLeod was a claim.
And then the second thing that
Fabian Moreau wasn't even a claim. He was signed to the practice squad originally.
And then the second thing that we would be talking about is, holy shit, this Giants pass rush is wicked cool. Wicked cool. For the first time really this year, I even think the game that Azeez maybe was active for, I think Leonard Williams was maybe missing some games.
Yeah.
So you had Azeez, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Leonard Williams. 3 out of those 4 players got a sack this game.
Yeah, and Leonard Williams basically funneled a sack into Justin Ellis, who got his first full sack in 8 seasons.
Congratulations.
NFL. That was as soon as he got the sack, I was like, let me go. How many? I know he had
I did the same thing. Pro Football Reference. I did you tweet it?
Yeah, I was like, that was his first
first full sack.
He had
of his
a half
career.
sack come into this game. He had a half a sack coming in 8 years.
2018 with the.
I don't care how much of a run stuffing nose tackle you are. The fact that this man went 8 years without getting a full sack is honestly impressive.
It's difficult to do.
It really is. It's Danny Shelton would have 3 sacks. And Danny Shelton was actually a little better in his prime.
But Justin, and it's funny that Justin Ellis, he won his rep. He did a good job. He won the play, but he kind of, that sack was set up by Leonard Williams. Like, Leonard Williams did a really solid job of kind of getting back there. Heineke moves around. You would think that would have happened one other time in his 8-year NFL career.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're not sitting here being like, why isn't the guy better pass rusher? It's like, how have you not stumbled into a couple in your career?
But Azeez makes his season debut.
Azeez, second season debut.
Excuse me.
And it's why Azeez is such a difference maker for this Giants defense, even coming back and even not being on the full snap count. Is all it takes is one play. And again, this man's played 3 games this year?
Doesn't feel like it.
A strip sack in 2 of them.
Yeah.
A strip sack versus the Bears. A strip sack in this, and it was against a tight end. But I always say, I do not discount pass rushers winning versus tight ends, because guess what? If you're facing a tight end, I need you to dominate. Azeez dominates, strip sack. That leads to 7 points for the Giants offense. He makes that difference. He gets around the corner. Kayvon, had a solid game. Wish he would have poked that ball out at the end. I don't know how Taylor Heineke held on to that at the end of overtime. I thought for sure, I can't believe it. We just are going to pick up a fumble and score a touchdown here and win the game.
Yeah, I felt like kind of take a page out of O.C. Umenyiора's book, where O.C. would not only deliver that hit, but he would find a way to poke his hand in there and get that ball out of there. It's not just hitting the quarterback. I think there's an art to kind of poking the ball. Kayvon did it against Baltimore, and then Azeez, man, and that forced fumble that he had, I did a keyframe zoom in on that forced fumble that Azeez has. I still can't fully understand how he got it looked like it was the left hand that was going to force the fumble, but I think it was his right hand that came around and somehow tipped that ball up, and he also recovered it too, which is always crazy impressive when guys are able to force a fumble and then recover it. That's something that OC did quite often. So it was really cool to see Azeez out there. Looked fast, looked physical, looked really, really good. Looked like, what we were hoping his second-year breakout would be, except it's week 13.
He's been injured, but every time he's played, he's looked really good, and that's the frustrating thing is. So, and I always say, guys like Azeez, there's many players in the NFL who will have a rookie year like Azeez Ojulari, and they'll be like, all right, well, second year, and this guy's going to get way better, right? And then they just get a little better. Azeez looked like he has taken a step forward in his game, at least as a pass rusher. There still is some issues setting the edge in the run game.
And it helps when you have Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams up the middle, too. It really helps. So.
And then, he was able to come in and essentially put 7 points on the board helped put 7 points on the board for the Giants. But Kayvon had 2 QB hits in this game.
He has 10 QB hits on the season now in 10 games.
Yeah, and so you got all the numbers up right there.
Yeah, Dexter Lawrence had a sack and 2 QB hits. He has now 6 sacks on the season, 20 QB hits on the season, which that's really, really good. Aziz, we mentioned him. He had a sack, forced fumble, 2 QB hits, fumble recovery. Jahad Ward had a sack and 2 QB hits. I think he also had a forced fumble. Giants didn't recover it. Justin Ellis had a sack, and Leonard Williams had a QB hit as well. I think Kayvon Thibodeau also, they gave him a tackle for loss, and I think that's his first tackle for loss in his career.
Congratulations, Kayvon.
Congratulations. And it's a shame that we didn't, again, if we won this game, we're talking about, man, this pass rush has arrived. But we tied, and that's not the main storyline from this game.
Yeah. What do you think about Heineke? Because he did, there was times where they got to him, but he made some key plays at the end of that. I mean, that fourth and 4, you get the pressure, he scrambles to the left, he throws across his body finds Curtis Samuel, and that was a stadium deflator right there. It's like that was for a guy. Again, that's what we talked about coming into on the preview pod. Like where Heineke is so much better than Wentz is taking those pressures and not letting them turn the sacks. He just makes plays in the pocket, and that was one, man.
He's a gamer,
and his arm delivered on that, and it led to again they lose that game if it's not if he doesn't make that play, the game is over. Giants win. We get a game and a half ahead of them in the wild card.
Yeah, I didn't think Heineke had a great game. I mean, I thought there were some interceptions that he maybe could have thrown too. If we have some CBs that can maybe finish some plays, close on some footballs, yada, yada, yada. We know the deficiencies that we were facing in this game there. But in the moments in which Heineke had to make plays, he made those plays. He's a gamer. I mean, it's why I like him. He's one of those quarterbacks in the NFL where it's like you watch him, you're not very good, but found a way to at least didn't win the game, but he didn't lose it.
It does feel like they won. Like I keep on wanting to say that they won too.
Yeah. Got to catch yourself.
What do you think about Rodarius not getting any run?
Strange, because Fabian Moreau got cooked.
Yeah, but I also expect Rodarius to get. So I'm not expecting Fabian Moreau to get benched, and Nick McLeod made some good plays. I don't know if he put him in the slot, though.
It was strange.
But I think Rodarius should have gotten some more run than he did.
It was just strange to see how well Rodarius played against CeeDee Lamb, and then 1 week later, you're just not out there.
Yeah.
At all, not even in a rotation.
And, he is a fit schematically. They drafted him as a press man Kana, as Dave Gettleman would say, because the Giants were trying to get more to some more press man in 2021, and then they realized their pass rush was not good enough to do that.
And even last year, they remember when Darnay Holmes was being put through the ringer?
Yeah, and that's the thing is Rodarius played a little bit in the slot last year
before he got hurt. Yeah,
listen, I love the cats out of FAU and Zion Gilbert, but I think Rodarius could play that slot position a little better than Zion Gilbert.
Yeah, they were all getting cooked at certain points this game. So
I mean, who would have thought when we did our UDFA episode that Zion Gilbert would be starting a winner gets a playoff spot game?
He's long.
Yeah, long corner out of FAU.
But this goes back to I think one of my few defensive points. We already talked about Taylor Heineke holding onto the ball during the Kayvon sack. So that's a game changer where if he fumbles that ball, the Giants recover it. They win the game, right? But missing Adoree Jackson and Xavier McKinney. I don't care if you're getting tired of it. I'm going to talk about it every week that it plays an impact in the game. Played an impact against Dallas.
They win this game. Yeah. I don't think we beat Dallas with Adoree.
The game's different, though. The game's
definitely
different.
This is a game where they absolutely win this game if Adoree Jackson's playing.
Yeah, and if Xavier McKinney doesn't go on a sightseeing tour, then Jason Pinnock isn't having full field responsibilities or half field responsibilities, and maybe he makes a play or two on a football, or maybe Taylor Heineke doesn't even target his side of the field anyway.
Yeah, having those two cats out is huge, and again, if those guys got injured, it's one thing. It's so frustrating that one got injured effing around on a four-wheeler, and another guy got injured returning punts. So, like you said, it should be said over and over again. And instead, I am looking up my Zion Gilbert scouting report.
How long are his arms?
6'1", 182. Don't know. He didn't go to the combine, so don't have his official
tough.
arm
Come
length.
on.
Super senior with Preston off experience and some safety reps. Straight line speed is good. Shouldn't get ran past. Change of direction is bad. Struggles to burst out of backpedal. Gets bullied in run game and might struggle with physical wide receivers. Looks comfortable and press with length, but won't jam you up. Good route combo ID in zone. Doesn't get baited. And that's Zion Gilbert.
That's Zion
Anything
Gilbert.
else on the defense before we talk about the tailgate and playoff?
Tay Crowder tweeted that he wants to be freed.
So I actually think Crowder should probably play over Jalen Smith as the Mike, and then you leave Mike McFadden in. But also, I don't think Tay Crowder is not good enough to tweet free me.
No,
not even good enough. He's just bad. So the only reason he should be playing on this team is because the linebacker group sucks so bad.
Yeah.
So I wish he wouldn't have tweeted that.
It is weird
because I generally like Tay Crowder, coming as Mr. Irrelevant. So
it is weird that they just totally benched him though. Totally.
For Jalen Smith. It'd be one thing if they totally benched him for McFadden. They essentially totally benched him for Jalen Smith. Playoff implications. The Seahawks won. So they are 7-5.
Okay.
The Commanders.
So we're still up on Seattle.
Yeah, we are still the second wildcard team after the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
So we are a half a game up on them. We are a half a I'm confused. The tie confuses me.
The tie confuses. Well, Washington.
Because Washington hasn't had their bye week yet.
So they have another loss in the loss column.
So they were already a half game back. So technically, they're still a half game back.
They're still a half game back because they have one more loss in the loss column. So the winning percentage for the Giants is better than Washington.
So the Seahawks are still a half game back, but it's a different type of half game back because it's not a tie. It's just we've played the same amount of games as you.
And the Giants play the Eagles next week, who just blew out the Titans.
Yeah, so they will be tied with if they lose to the Eagles, they'll be tied with the Commanders, and then they play the next week, and that's basically. I mean, I feel like that doesn't necessarily decide the playoff spot, but it damn near
kind of does.
It damn near will feel like it.
Today was a non-mathematical must-win, and I guess the Giants didn't lose, but they didn't win.
I feel a little gross saying it, but I still haven't lost in Giants games I've attended.
You're not wrong.
I'm undefeated.
You're not wrong.
Which is someone tweeted me that right after the game.
Isn't that strange? Maybe that's a sign. For
someone tweeted me that after the game, and I literally in real life did the Larry David gif like it is true.
Isn't that strange that something so fucked up as a tie, especially in the ways where literally I listed 10 things that if they went differently, the Giants could have won the game. All these things had to happen in order for you to keep your quote-unquote winning streak alive.
Or my non-losing streak.
Or your non-losing streak. I guess that's the best way to put it.
The tailgate. That's an episode. I want to talk about the tailgate, though.
Yeah.
Where are we at with time right now?
We're about 43 minutes.
Okay, so we got a few minutes. Dude, a lot of people showed up. It was very fun.
Ton of people, man.
Thank you to Candlewick Diner, Manny.
Yes.
They came out. I was worried because so many people came out there wouldn't be food, and I kept on checking and telling people to go get some food. It's going to run out, and there was still food left. So,
but we barely had to throw anything out, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that was awesome. So Manny and those guys.
Yeah, Manny and family.
Make sure to go take out. Make sure on a game day go mention Talking Giants, get a free dessert for them. But just everyone showed up. We should have got a head count at some point, but you said it seemed like there was over 100 people.
Yeah, I really – now people were coming and going for sure. They got their own tailgates. They got their own friends, family that are there. So, first of all, thank you to everybody who did show up. Thank you to everybody who grabbed a bite to eat, took a picture, just said, hey, I like you guys. I listen to you guys all the time. It's awesome. I mean, it's super awesome, the community that – we've been able to build. Thank you to everybody who also was in my my Giants Pro Football Reference guests video as well. I'm excited for that to come out. Now, I'm not sure when it's going to come out. It's probably going to come out in a couple weeks. I want to thank Snacks because this tailgate, that L16 tailgate, that's not my tailgate. That's Snacks' tailgate.
It is now. I'm the captain now.
Yeah, Bobby's the captain. That's Snacks' tailgate. That's his brother Anthony. Anthony is a Dory. Snack says it's his family. Now, I don't think any of them they're blood related necessarily, but they are family. And there's a whole crew of L16 people even before kind of Talking Giants got there. So it's Snacks, Anthony, that entire crew. So thank you so much to them.
Why do you call him Anthony?
Because Snacks calls him Anthony.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Anthony.
I was like, do you not know the name's Anthony?
No, I'm now adopting that because Snacks says, "Hey, Anthony." No, but I love them with all my heart. So thank you so much to them.
Yeah, good to every time. It's always fun to have everyone come out there and meet. Like those tailgates are a great time.
And
there's
Danny
such a good time that you forget. Like, oh crap, we got to go in and watch a game and analyze a game.
And in a way, also thank you to Danny Behan, who I can literally text him to bring whatever, do whatever, and he'll be like, yeah, like I'll be like, jump, and he'll say how high. So I thank you to Danny Behan and more people as always, especially our core Patreon members. A lot of our core Patreon members were there too, so that was awesome. But
except for Tim Coffey, who is a certified bad person.
I hope Chris Mickle feels better.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
was
something.
sick, so I feel bad for Chris Mickle.
No, but today was. I usually when we have those events like FanFest, we had our tailgate last year against the Eagles. Usually when we have those tailgates, I usually go crazy. I'm like doing this, I'm doing that, I'm here, there, and everywhere. I was here, there, and everywhere, especially because I filmed like maybe 14, 15 different people of that Giants ref guess. But that was so freaking cool, so freaking fun. Everything kind of went perfect. There was enough food. That was so awesome. I couldn't even go from one spot to the next because it was just, hey. So thank you to everybody that came out. We want to do more of that. We want to do more of those, especially heading in the next year. So if you want to be part of the L16 crew, there's some shirts. And then also we would love for you to show up and love to be part of it.
Yeah, next year we're going to try and do it a little more official.
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
still do a couple free ones, but I think we're going to do a way to get just where we can get food for people and just have it more as a week in, week out community. And also where you don't have to pay. You could just come and hang out. But just have food for people that want to feed their families.
No, it's just awesome that what we've created too. I never thought that it would kind of turn into this. Yeah, I never envisioned.
My brother and his fiance came, and their new joke is, "Are you Bobby Skinner?" Because I was like, all right, that's getting a little annoying. But no, that from them, not from our listeners. So that was cool. All right, so that's an episode. We'll be back. I'll be back home in Florida where it's warm, and we'll have a mailbag pod out Wednesday, and then a preview of the Eagles game. That's a preview pod where it's like, here's the path to victory. I don't know if we're gonna get to that path, but here's the path to victory.
AJ Brown against Fabian Moreau.
James Bradbury revenge game.
Yeah. Do we have any revenge games on our side?
Jack Anderson.
That's
one I know off rip.
Huge. Huge. I think that might be it.
So we appreciate you. I want to give a special shout out to Dan in Staten Island. We're thinking of you, man. Hope you're doing well.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.